that idea of pausing and listening is really the cornerstone of LiveMore, ScreenLess. And what it allows us to do is remove isolation for both educators, parents, and young people who are all trying to manage this.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. My guests today recognize and appreciate the vast benefits that technology brings to our lives. LiveMore ScreenLess is a Minnesota-based organization that uses best practices from education, public health, and positive youth development to engage with families, schools, and organizations to promote balanced, intentional, and effective use of technology. That is the total trifecta, the best of all possible uses of technology. And today we get to hear from the co-founders, Maree Hampton and Meyers. Maree, in the interest of being able to kind of distinguish between your two voices, could you tell us a little bit about you and what led you to this digital wellness arena?
Yes, thank you, Hillary. So my name is Maree Hampton, and my background is in public health and youth development. And I came to this work really out of my friendship with KK and our shared deep concern about the impact that technology overuse and misuse was having on our young people. And early on, we really took a deep dive into the research and really did a lot of exploring to better understand what was happening with our young people and what the best strategies were to approach the issues.
So that's the business side of things. I want to appreciate all of you. What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, that's a great question. I love to be outside and active. I have two sons and a husband that are very much into the out of doors. So as a family, we do a lot of hiking, biking, cross-country skiing, traveling, and I'm an avid knitter.
Oh, so I was waiting to hear. I'm like, there has to be a snow sport in there somewhere. For you to live in Minnesota, there has to be a snow sport. Excellent. So KK, now it's your turn. How did you come to kind of the quest that would become LiveMore ScreenLess?
Hi, Hillary. Thank you. I love that question. And the word quest brings me right into the classroom where I spent 25 years as a high school English teacher. And the hero's journey on the quest is definitely central to an English teacher's task. And this really has been a lot of a hero's journey that we are on. So my background as an English teacher really led me to this work. So I was an early adopter of technology back in the day where I needed to take my students to the computer lab to use the computers, then eventually check out the computer cart to use in my classroom. And until eventually then we had one-to-one devices in the classroom and a smart board on the wall. I remember in 2010, 2012, students were just starting to get phones and they were forbidden at school. They couldn't be out or we could confiscate them. And I remember a student keeping it in her purse, but her face was shining. So she was trying to hide it in her purse and it was really clear. And we were able to take them. And right around 2012, when we distributed one-to-one iPads to our students, was right around the time that social media boomed and the iPhone came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a perfect storm of not being able to manage devices in the classroom anymore. So we stopped taking devices. There was still a policy, but teachers just couldn't keep up. And
Right.
around that same time, we see national trends and Minnesota trends in the decline of young people's mental well-being.
Absolutely.
Increased anxiety, depression, and suicide ideation. And I lived through those years of increased mental health crisis of my students. So It was this friendship with Maree, as she described, and that was born out of Nordic skiing. So you're exactly right that these Minnesota gals are together because originally of our sons and their love of skiing, and ours as well. And I shared with Maree the dark side of technology that I had been exposed to with my students' use of technology. And together we said, let's do something about this. And through that dive into the research, we were bolstered to see that there was a hero's journey that we needed to embark on. And LiveMore ScreenLess is part of that to really bring forth well-being for students and educators.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you embarked on the journey. Maree got to answer what she liked to do for fun. And I want to follow your hero theme. So if you had to choose one like superhero skill, what would it be?
Oh, it's a skill that both Maree and I share, I think, and that is connecting. We love people. We're very relational. And I think there's a tendency for us to gather people in really authentic ways for the good of humanity. So we're both pretty passionate about people and young people and gathering.
You are so altruistic in your superhero skills, because I would like to fly. I either want to fly. It's always this toss of flying invisibility. So, but wow, no, spoken like a true founder of LiveMore ScreenLess, that you're gathering and connecting people for the betterment of humanity.
Well, I would fly too. I mean, I don't want to be invisible. That's not anything I have interest in, but flying, sure. I'd love to be up there with the birds.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I just want to beat traffic. So
Cute.
You guys have really approached this challenge. You recognized it early on. You tackled it at a legislative level because it hits us at all levels. And can you kind of tell us how that happened?
We started our organization out of that deep concern and really wanting to have the opportunity to listen to young people.
Okay.
And so before that legislative effort began, we were taking time to listen to young people through formal focus groups, through informal classroom discussions, through some interviews and videos that we ended up creating, which is a series of what we call listen in videos. So we took that deep dive into research, and then we turned to young people to really understand what they were facing, as well as educators. So actually, one of our first steps was to survey educators to better understand how it was to manage technology in the classroom. Armed with these voices of educators and young people, we were invited to speak to the Rice County elected officials group that was focused on adolescent mental health. KK and I only had 10 minutes to share all that we wanted to share. And
gosh.
that is often very challenging for us because we have a lot to say. But at the conclusion of the presentation, Representative John Hewitt came up to us and shared with us that he was serving on the Education Committee in the Minnesota House. And would we come to the committee and do the exact same presentation? Because he said, we need to know about this. And he turned to us and he said, would you write a bill? So of course, KK and I said, yes, of course we can write a bill.
I love that. I'm picturing you guys. Yes, absolutely. And as you're walking away going, what do we do?
How do we do that?
I love that. And as a result, what happened?
So we set up a meeting with this legislator. We went to his office and we talked to him. Again, we had 10 minutes. Legislators are very, very busy. And when you set up a meeting with them, you're lucky if you get 15 minutes. But we shared with him our work and he said, we have to get you a grant. And KK and I, again, looked at each other, said, wow, we hadn't even thought about turning to the legislature. Like, we decided we were going to be a nonprofit. That's a very monumental task to create a sustainable nonprofit, it's a huge amount of work. So we hadn't really thought about legislature as a source of a grant. So anyway, we ended up connecting with some other champions in the Minnesota legislature who really took this issue to heart. One particular senator who had some constituents who had lost their children due to suicide related to issues on screens and cyberbullying. He had a deep passion about this issue, not only from his constituents, but because he just realized this billion-dollar industry was taking our attention and making money off of it. And so when he learned about our organization, he became an incredible champion. And he happened to be the chair of the Education Finance Committee and provided us with the opportunity to write the bill and present in front of some hearings in front of this committee. So he really paved the way. Ultimately, we had bipartisan support for this bill, digital wellbeing bill, that became law on June 31st, 2021. And that law enabled the Minnesota Department of Education to provide a grant to LiveMore ScreenLess to work on 4 projects that really built the foundation of raising awareness and education for digital well-being.
Oh, fantastic. It's one of those things where, it's that whole like luck favors was it chance or luck favors the prepared? And I think all the groundwork that you had done led you to that place where when you were given this opportunity, you were like, yes, we will do that. And I think it just speaks to your whole life path between being, the education, the public health, everything. It kind of all feeds into this place where you're at now.
That's really perceptive, Hillary, because the other piece that I didn't mention that KK and I were really intentional about when we started this work is we went on a listening tour of other professionals. So we actually created this log of relationship building. We went to other nonprofit leaders. We went to individuals who were working in various mental health care facilities. We spoke to child psychologists. We spoke to the medical community. We did a lot of listening to professionals as we were embarking on this. And it turns out, as we started to pursue the legislation, we could turn to those individuals to say, will you write a letter of support for this legislation? So we have this incredible network, which we continue to have. We've continued to build upon and strengthen the relationships that we have with other organizations.
One of the things that I just keep hearing again and again from you is the listening part. And I love that because it so validates our digital natives experiences, the digital natives of being those people who have grown up in the time of tech. And I think within the digital wellness kind of sector, there tends to be a very didactic approach when dealing with teens. It's very top down. It's like, oh, let me tell you what I know. And you do something different where you flip it and you recognize their levels of expertise. And I think it is incredibly powerful. And I really admire how you've done that.
So that idea of pausing and listening is really the cornerstone of LiveMore ScreenLess. And what it allows us to do is remove isolation for both educators, parents, and young people who are all trying to manage this. In a recent listening session with high school teachers, one high school teacher said to us at the end, this was cathartic to be heard.
Wow.
So the power of listening is profound. And then we have seen the isolation be removed in that same sense, where we'll see young people look kind of across the room and say, you too, you feel that way? So there's so much of this fast-paced world that we're living in, that we're all expected to be on our phones. We expect young people to be on their phones. It's the narrative that we have in our head. So they're living up to that. yet when we stop and pause and ask some questions, it doesn't take long to find out the intense kind of pain they're in around their screen use.
Right. Okay. Oh, so much to think about. So let's take a little break and we're going to come back and do more listening about how to live more and screen less and how you guys are working with digital natives to make a difference.
Screen Free Week is a free global celebration May 1st through the 7th, during which you and your family are invited to put down your entertainment screens and make time to play, explore, and connect. Celebrate Screen Free Week however you like, whether by unplugging for one day, making one change in your screen habits, like no phones at the dinner table, or going cold turkey and only using screens for work or school. To learn more and pledge to participate, visit screenfree.org.
The mission of my guests today, the co-founders of LiveMore, ScreenLess, is to promote and advocate digital well-being for and with young people. One of the ways they do this is through their youth council. Now, I had the privilege of talking with one of their youth council members back in season 5, episode 7, titled "A Gen Zer Talks Social Media" with CC Holly. And I just enjoyed my time so much with CC. And can you tell us more about the youth council? Like, what is it? Is it school based? Are there places to meet? What is this youth council?
Oh, I am so thrilled that you referenced CC, and I hope listeners go back to that episode. And I'm going to just travel back down memory lane because our mission is digital well-being for and with young people, and it is so core to who we are. So I just have to share a story with you. So CC Holly and Charlie Galicic were two of our earliest youth council members, and I have a very vivid memory of sitting with the two of them at a Panera, late 2019, maybe early 2020, certainly pre-COVID, because we were sitting at a restaurant together. And yeah. I was sharing with them what we thought this thing called Live More Screen Less was going to be. I might have had some slides with them, and then they would ask some questions, and I would pause and think, I think that's what we're going to try to do. What do you think we should do? They were so core to asking us critical questions and forming the direction of Live More Screen Less. It's really remarkable. Danielle Robinson, Miles Hill are two other early members of our youth council. Danielle just spoke at our rally at the Minnesota Capitol Rotunda and just brought forth incredible wisdom and insight about the need for digital well-being and the partnership with young people. So it's really with profound pride that we have these youth council members. Danielle and CC now are members of our board. They've been incredible partners in forming what we do. When COVID hit, Live More Screen Less, when we would say the name of our organization, was met with a laugh. It was, how are you going to do that now? Maybe it's, live more, screen more. And it was true. It was a dramatic pivot for everybody. We were forced home on screens all the time. And it was in that time that with our youth council, we were able to develop our peer education program. And in the spring of 2020, we piloted our first peer education program on Zoom with this core youth council that we are now continuing to revise and use to train other young people across Minnesota.
So is it all within one district, or is it how, like, I don't know. I'm just having a hard time. Maybe my digital immigrant status is showing, but I'm like, is it something that they meet online? How do they get people? Can you kind of talk about the, I don't know, just kind of the logistics?
So we really have two models that we are working in. And one model is to train an educator in the school in our peer education model so that they are equipped with that facilitated listening skill, that they are equipped with letting a young person lead and being their partner in that leadership. And then that can be school-based peer education development. Our second model is that LiveMore ScreenLess invites young people who are interested in learning more into a LiveMore ScreenLess cohort of peers who then we bring through our training. So it can be both school-based and then LiveMore ScreenLess-based leadership, where then those young people who are trained bring that back to their school, where then they can seek out and find the teacher, the counselor, whomever can partner with them, and then we train that advisor. So it can be kind of teacher-led back to student, student-led to teacher. But the core of it really is that it is not that top-down adult saying how to manage it. Our curriculum is centered on the 5 dimensions of well-being. So we have used from research and data looking at the effects of screens on well-being, and those are social, emotional, mental, cognitive, and physical. And we work through those 5 dimensions, we define them, we have core questions, and then activities that move toward well-being in those dimensions. So when a young person or an educator is trained in that, then they, in their clubs, can continue to bring forward those lessons and work through those with the club, so that ultimately those get brought to middle school students and to elementary students in smaller lessons that are peer-led. So really using the adult as the partner and the young person as the leader.
Yeah, that's a fantastic model. I think that peer-to-peer teaching is just so powerful, especially when it comes to emotionally charged things. So this is something that is I think where I'm stumbling is if other schools, say I live in California, if we had people who wanted to do this type of training, is it available outside of Minnesota? And how would they go about doing that?
Well, because of our grant from the state of Minnesota, we really are focused on Minnesota. Okay. However, we are also working on passing legislation this session in our state that will allow us to continue to scale up, again with a focus on Minnesota. But with that scaling, we are looking at how is it that we bring it to others. So what we have built now is 2 educator modules that start with what is digital well-being and really bring forth research, data, educator voice, student voice to lay the groundwork on digital well-being. And then the second module is a training and facilitated discussion, so that that adult is really clear on how it is that we bring people together in a safe space and allow them the opportunity to share their experiences. From there, then, we have an educator toolkit that after an educator adult has gone through those 2 levels of training, would have the opportunity to have access to that educator toolkit. So that's sort of the plan to ensure the fidelity of the program, that it doesn't become that the adult gets the toolkit and then teaches the lesson, that it ensures that the adult has access to how that works, but then the young person is still leading in that sharing of information.
Complementary to the online modules that KK noted and the expansion of the peer leadership and education training is a resource library that we will soon be launching through the support of the state. And yes, we are going to feature your podcast on our resource library, Hillary. And that resource library has been built with 3 audiences in mind. It's young people, families, parents and caregivers, and educators. So we're really excited about the launch of this resource library to support all of Minnesota. That resource library, of course, will be available to individuals outside of Minnesota because it's be connected to our website. And then the other project that we've built is a communication campaign that we hope to launch in Minnesota schools as part of a communication toolkit. So those are the two additional projects that we're able to build with support from that state grant.
Nice. So you, one of the things that I love about your guys' organization is that it sits right at this intersection of public health and education. And I mean, what a powerful place to rest. You have this model you follow called WISC, and that's whole school, whole community, whole child model, developed by the CDC and the ASCD, which for those who need a little glossary tab here, the CDC is Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and the ASCD is the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. So could you talk briefly about this model and how you use it to kind of develop your program?
Yes, I'd love to, Hillary. So when KK and I were doing our research and exploring like what it is we want to do with LiveMore ScreenLess, my coming from the public health world and KK coming from the education world, we knew that it was really important that we embrace these lenses on this issue of technology misuse and overuse. And we were elated to find this model developed by those two associations, this whole school, whole community, whole child model. So as we engage with school communities, we are able to use this model to show that that child is at the center of this circular model. And it's important for those in the school community to recognize that we all have a role to play to support that student's mental health and learning, and to identify the effects that screen misuse and overuse is having on learning and well-being. So we've really embraced this model. It also shines a light on policies, practices, and processes within the school community. So how are those either supporting digital well-being or acting as a barrier to digital well-being? And then it calls out individual roles, the school counselor, the teacher, the parent, the administrator, the coach. We know that all of us can play a role. And because this issue is so very complex, it is important that many people are activated within school communities to really embrace digital well-being and look for ways that they can help in this shift. So we talk often about shifting the culture towards digital well-being.
When we come back, I can't wait to hear the LiveMore ScreenLess healthy screen habit. We love what we do, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the generous donations provided by our listeners and followers. We want to extend special thanks to the Doctors Petty for their unwavering support of the podcast and organization. If you'd like to make a difference and contribute to the education and empowerment of families building their healthiest screen habits, please go to healthyscreenhabits.org, find the Take Action tab, and scroll down and click the Donate button. 100% of your donation will be used to spread awareness and bring families the tools they need to develop healthy screen habits. My guests today are KK Meyers and Maree Hampton. They are the co-founders of LiveMore ScreenLess, an organization based in Minnesota and changing the nation with their thought processes. So, ladies, now is the time that I ask for a healthy screen habit, which is a tip or takeaway that our listeners can put into practice in their own homes. Do you have a healthy screen habit you can share with us?
Yes, Hillary, I'd love to share mine. My healthy screen habit is to get outdoors every day for a little bit of nature. And even if that ends up being just a walk around the block, during that walk, attending to the trees, looking up at the sky, looking at the clouds, and just having that sense of awe with nature.
Lovely. How about you, KK?
Yeah, thank you. So our definition of digital well-being, as you mentioned earlier, is balanced, intentional, and effective use of technology. And I do try to bring intentionality with the use of my devices, and whether that is intention around dinner time with my husband, watching movies with my family, or even work time. So Maree and I might say to one another, hey, is this a meeting that we could walk and talk? And then be intentional about having the meeting, being outside, and connecting just through our phones and walking.
I seriously need to adopt the walk and talk meeting model.
Yeah, we highly recommend it. We will bring notes with us. And even when it's cold out, we might be wearing our mittens and we have to pull out the notes. But we love that time of, and why not? We don't have to be on a screen or seeing each other on Zoom. We can, and we even do it when we're in the office too, is let's head out. And is there a topic that we can use and go for a few, walk around the block and talk it through?
As always, a complete transcript of this conversation can be found in today's episode show notes. Get there by going to healthyscreenhabits.org, click on the podcast button at the top of the page, and scroll down to find this episode. So Maree, KK, thank you so much. You are helping lots more people live more, screen intentionally. If not less, screen intentionally.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Hillary. It was great to be with you.
Yeah, thank you, Hillary.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.